The spotlight crashed down like a thunderbolt, illuminating Julian Reyes's face in a blaze of white-hot glory. His voice a raw, velvet storm that silenced the screaming crowd of 15,000 in the packed arena. But in that electric moment, as his eyes swept the sea of faces, they locked on mine. Hidden in the shadows of the nosebleed seats, clutching a dog-eared copy of his debut album's liner notes like a lifeline. And for a split second, the world narrowed to just us, two boys from Crescent Bay who had lost everything and found it again in the echo of a single, stolen glance. My heart slammed against my ribs, a decade's worth of buried secrets surging up like a tidal wave. Because how do you unlove someone who became a constellation while you stayed rooted in the dirt? Loving them from afar? I remember the exact day it all began unraveling, back when we were just kids dodging the salt spray of the Pacific in Crescent Bay, California. A sleepy coastal town where the fog rolled in like forgotten promises, and the high school football field doubled as a stage for dreams too big for the horizon. It was senior year, the air thick with the scent of eucalyptus and impending goodbyes, and Julian was already the son everyone orbited. Captain of the swim team, lead singer in a garage band that packed the local diner on weekends, with laughter that could coax balloons from concrete. I was Elias Thorne, the invisible one, 17, gangly, with glasses perpetually fogged from burying my nose in fantasy novels during lunch, whispering spells to fictional heroes while the real world blurred into irrelevance. No one noticed me except for the librarians, who slipped me extra copies of The Night Circus under the counter, and Julian, who noticed me in ways that twisted my insides into knots I didn't yet have names for. It started innocently enough, or so I told myself in the sleepless nights that followed. We shared English Lit, third period, Mrs. Hargrove's domain of creaky desks and chalk-dusted sonnets. Julian slouched in the back row, doodling lyrics on his notebook margins, his dark hair falling like a rebel flag over eyes the color of storm-tossed waves. I sat up front, scribbling annotations in the margins of The Great Gatsby, dreaming of green lights across bays I could never cross. One rainy Tuesday, when the skies opened like Judgment Day, Mrs. Hargrove paired us for a project on unrequited love, irony's cruelest joke. Thorne Reyes, she announced, and my pen slipped, ink bleeding across Daisy's lament like a fresh wound. We met after school in the library, that sacred vault of whispers where the world outside ceased to exist. The rain hammered the roof like impatient fingers, and Julian burst and soaked to the bone, shaking water from his curls like a golden retriever, his swim team hoodie clinging to shoulders that spoke of endless laps in the community pool. "Hey, book boy," he grinned, dropping into the chair across from me with the ease of someone who owned every room he entered. "What's the plan? You lead, I'll follow." My throat went dry as Sahara sand. Up close, he smelled like chlorine and citrus cologne, a combination that lodged in my chest and refused to leave. We poured over Gatsby's fevered longing, his voice wrapping around Fitzgerald's words like smoke, low, teasing, alive. "See? Daisy's just scared. Love like that. It's terrifying because it's real." His knee brushed mine under the table, accidental or not, and electricity arced through me, hot and forbidden. I nodded, mute, my fingers tracing the page as if it could anchor me. But inside, I was adrift, loving him in silence, the way Jay stared at that distant dock light, blind to the chasm. That project stretched into weeks, stolen hours amid the musty tomes and flickering fluorescence. Julian would show up with coffee from the corner bodega, black for him, caramel latte for me, because you look like you need sweetening up, and we'd debate Hemingway's icebergs, his enthusiasm pulling confessions from me I'd never voiced aloud. I told him about the worlds I escaped to in books, knights and mages who bent fate with a whisper, and he confessed his own fears. The demo tapes burning a hole in his backpack, the dream of stages bigger than the pier where he'd buskied on summer nights. "What if I chase it and it chews me up?" he'd murmur, vulnerability cracking his golden facade, his hand lingering on mine as we highlighted passages. Those touches, fingertips grazing, shoulders bumping, ignited something primal, a heat I shoved down deep, terrified of what it meant in a town where different was whispered like a curse. One evening, as thunder rumbled like the gods' own applause, the power flickered out, plunging us into twilight gloom. Candles from the lost and found flickered on the table, casting shadows that danced like specters. Julian leaned back, his eyes gleaming in the low light. "Truth or dare, Thorne?" The game was his idea, a deflection from the essay's climax, but his voice held an edge, daring me to leap. "Truth," I whispered, heart pounding. He tilted his head, studying me like a lyric he couldn't pin down. "What's the one thing you'd change about this town if you could?" I swallowed, the words bubbling up unbidden. "I'd make it so no one had to hide who they are." The air thickened, charged. His gaze softened, then sharpened. "Dare," he said softly, flipping the script. Trembling, I dared him to sing the chorus of his unfinished song, the one about a boy chasing stars that didn't shine back. He did, voice raw and resonant, filling the empty stacks with a melody that wove ache and hope. When he finished, silence wrapped us like a blanket, and then, his hand cupped my cheek, thumb brushing my jaw, pulling me into a kiss that tasted of rain and revelation. It was soft at first, tentative, then desperate, our breaths mingling as the world tilted. In that moment, under the watchful eyes of forgotten volumes, I wasn't the bookworm anymore. I was alive, claimed, his lips mapping the contours of a love I'd only read about. We broke apart, gasping, foreheads pressed, his whisper a vow. Elias, I wanted this. You. But the lights surged back on, harsh and unforgiving, and reality crashed in. The bell tolling like a death knell, our secret fragile as spun glass. From there, it was a fever dream of hidden glances in hallways, notes slipped into lockers quoting E. Cummings. I carry your heart with me. I carry it in my heart. And stolen nights on the beach, where the waves lapped at our bare feet and his fingers traced constellations on my skin. Julian was fire, bold, and consuming. I was the tide, pulling him under with quiet devotion. We dreamed aloud under star-pricked skies, him conquering LA's glittering stages, me following with a stack of manuscripts, our love the compass guiding us both. But Crescent Bay wasn't kind to dreamers like us. Whispers slithered through the halls, slurs scrawled on bathroom stalls, parents who preached fire and brimstone from pulpits overlooking the surf. Julian's bandmates ribbed him with jokes that cut deeper than knives, and my own reflection in the mirror mocked me with questions I couldn't answer. What if this ruins him? What if it's just a phase? The fracture came swift as a rogue wave, the night of the senior talent show. Julian's band closed the evening, their set a riot of guitars and drums that had the gym pulsing like a heartbeat. He dedicated the encore to the one who sees the stars in the verses, his eyes finding mine in the crowd, and my chest swelled with pride fierce as any novel's climax. But backstage, as confetti rained and adrenaline sang in our veins, his manager, a slick LA scout named Victor who'd flown in like a hawk, pulled him aside. Kid, you got gold in those pipes. But that dedication? Tone it down. The industry's cutthroat. Don't give him reasons to clip your wings. Julian's face shuddered, the boy I'd kissed melting into the star he was destined to be. Later, in the dim parking lot, he held me at arm's length. Elias, us. It's everything. But if I want the dream, I can't. The words died, but the blow landed, cracking my world in two. He left for L.A. 2 weeks later, a scholarship to a music conservatory his ticket out, his goodbye a hurried kiss in the pre-dawn fog by my bedroom window. Wait for me, he murmured, tears salting his lashes. I'll come back when it's safe. I nodded, lies we both believed, clutching the mixtape he'd left, songs laced with our story, hidden in metaphor. The town swallowed him whole, and I buried myself deeper in books, each page a proxy for the boy who'd lit my darkness. Years blurred. College in San Francisco. A job shelving tomes at an indie bookstore in the Mission District, letters from Julian growing sparse then silent, his face plastered on billboards, his voice topping charts. He became Julian Reyes, the phenom, the heartthrob, dating starlets in tabloid spreads that twisted my gut. I became the ghost, loving him from afar, my heart a library of unspoken volumes. But fate, that capricious librarian, has a way of reshelving the broken. 5 years later, on a muggy July evening in 2025, I was wrist-deep in a crate of first editions at Pages Unbound, the creaky haven where I now curated rare finds, when the bell above the door tinkled like a siren's call. The shop was a labyrinth of leaning shelves and catacomb corners, scented with aged paper and fresh ink, my sanctuary from the city's relentless pulse. I glanced up, wiping dust from my glasses, and there he was, Julian Reyes, in the flesh, broader now, etched with the wear of spotlights and solitude, his signature leather jacket slung over one shoulder, eyes scanning the spines like a man adrift. Elias. His voice cracked on my name, a note off key in the symphony of his fame. Time hadn't dimmed him. If anything, it had honed him, carving laugh lines around those sea storm eyes, adding a shadow of stubble that begged for touch. 23 to my 22? No, wait, we'd both crossed into our late 20s now, and 28, me 27, the years a chasm bridged by this impossible reunion. I froze, a volume of If Beale Street Could Talk slipping from my fingers, thudding to the Persian rug like a heartbeat. Julian, I managed, the word a prayer and a curse. He crossed the room in 3 strides, enveloping me in a hug that smelled of airport lounges and unresolved longing, his chin resting on my crown. God, I've missed this place. Missed you. We pulled apart, awkward as adolescence, the air humming with unsaid elegies. He wandered the aisles, fingers trailing bindings as if reacquainting with old friends, while I trailed him, a shadow to his light. Tour break, he explained, voice low to avoid the eavesdropping of fellow browsers. Needed to breathe. Crescent Bay called. Lies or half-truths. His eyes darted, betraying the storm beneath. Over lukewarm tea in the back room. My ritual for closing time. He spilled fragments. The whirlwind descent, Grammys clutched in trembling hands, the hollow echo of arenas where fans chanted his name, but no one knew his heart. It's all smoke, Elias. The crowds, the contracts, they devour you. His hand found mine across the scarred oak table, thumb circling my knuckles, reigniting embers I'd banked for years. And you? Still conquering worlds between covers. I laughed, brittle as autumn leaves, recounting my quiet victories. The MFA in creative writing half finished, the blog of literary essays that garnered a modest following, the night spent penning stories of lovers who defied the odds. But beneath the banter, tension coiled like a spring. Why now? Why here? As dusk bled into the shop's leaded windows, painting us in bruised purples, he leaned in, breath warm against my ear. Come with me tonight. Just a walk like old times. Heart hammering, I nodded, and we slipped out into the mission's neon-veined streets, the fog weaving halos around street lamps. San Francisco at twilight was a lover's canvas. Trolley cars clanging like distant bells, murals of defiant saints watching from alley walls, the bay's breath carrying whispers of jazz from hidden clubs. We wandered Haight Street, past head shops hawking tie-dye dreams and cafes spilling laughter, his arm brushing mine with deliberate accident. Talk flowed easy at first, dissecting new albums, debating Baldwin's rage against Baldwin's grace. But as we crested a hill overlooking the Golden Gate, shrouded in mist like a ghost ship, the past reared up. Do you ever think about that night? He asked, voice raw, halting to face me. The bridge's cables hummed in the wind, a requiem for what-ifs. The talent show. Victor's words. I panicked Elias. Thought if the world knew, it'd end before it began. Pain lanced through me, sharp as shattered glass. It did end, I whispered, stepping back, the chasm yawning wider. You chose the star, Julian. I was just the footnote. His face crumpled, regret etching lines I'd never seen. No, I chose survival. But every song, every lyric, it's you. Echoes and stacks, that B-side. Your kiss in the library, immortalized. He pulled out his phone, cueing the track, the melody unfurling soft and sorrowful, his baritone crooning of hidden shelves and forbidden lights. Tears pricked my eyes. I'd streamed it 1,000 times, never knowing. I never stopped, he confessed, voice breaking. Loving you. Hiding it cost me everything. The admission hung between us, fragile as fog. I wanted to rage, to demand the years back, but instead, I closed the distance, our lips meeting in a kiss that tasted of salt and second chances. Fiercer now, tempered by time, his hands framing my face as if I were porcelain. We broke apart breathless, the city sprawling below like a promise renewed. What now? I murmured, forehead to his. Now, he said, eyes fierce with resolve. We rewrite the ending. Together. But even as hope bloomed, doubt whispered. Fame's jaws were wider now, scandal sharper. In a world that devoured its darlings, could love be the armor we needed? That night blurred into a haze of rediscovery. He crashed at my tiny apartment above the shop, a shoebox garret with bookshelves for walls, and a Murphy bed that groaned under our weight. We talked until dawn, bodies tangled in sheets that smelled of lavender detergent, his stories painting the underbelly of stardom. The pill-popping producers, the forced smiles at galas where starlets pawed him like trophies, the closet he'd locked himself in, key swallowed by fear. Coming out? It's career suicide, he admitted, tracing the freckles on my collarbone. But losing you again? That's death. I share my own scars. The parade of almosts, dates that fizzled because no one measured to his ghost, the therapy sessions where I unpacked the shame of loving a boy in a town that equated it with sin. Vulnerability stripped us bare, forging something stronger than lust. Trust, the quiet bedrock of true romance. By morning, sunlight slanting through salt-streaked windows, we made promises over burnt toast and instant coffee. He'd extend his break. I'd clean my schedule. A road trip up the coast, chasing the Pacific's curve from San Francisco to Big Sur, away from prying eyes. It felt like a novel's interlude, the calm before the tempest. We packed light, my duffel of paperbacks, his guitar case scarred from 100 flights, and hit the highway in his rented Mustang, windows down, his playlist weaving our history into the wind. Free Fallon blasted as we sped past cypress groves bent like supplicants, his hand on my thigh as steady anchor. Laughter came easy, stolen kisses at scenic pullouts where seals barked approval from rocky shores. But Kitchton lurked in the rearview. Midway through Big Sur, cell service flickering like a bad omen, his phone buzzed incessantly. Victor labels a publicist for the crisis. Leak, he muttered, face paling as he scanned texts. Paparazzi shots from last night. Us, blurred but unmistakable, emerging from the shop, his arm around my waist. Headlines already brewing. Reyes mystery man, secret affair. My stomach plummeted. They'll spin it, he said, tossing the phone aside, jaw set. Make you the villain, the phase. Fear clawed at me, but his eyes held steady. Screw them. This is us. We drove on, the ocean a mirror to our turmoil, vast, unforgiving, beautiful. In a cliffside cabin rented under a false name, rented with cash from an ATM in Monterey, we barricaded against the world. Evenings dissolved into fireside confessions, his guitar strumming ballads born of our separation, my head in his lap as I read aloud from Maurice, Forster's forbidden love a balm for our wounds. Nights were symphony, his body a landscape I mapped with reverent hands, murmurs of mine, and always echoing off redwood beams. Romance flowered in the mundane. Him burning pancakes at dawn, me surprising him with a dog-eared copy of Giovanni's Room. Bookmarked at the line, perhaps books had taught me. For the first time, love felt possible, not a plot twist, but the story itself. Yet the storm broke on the fourth day, as relentless as the waves battering the rocks below. Victor pounded on the door at noon, flanked by a lawyer in a suit sharp as accusations. "Julian, this stunt ends now," he barked, shoving a tablet under his nose. Articles exploding online, fans fracturing into camps, boycotts brewing from conservative strongholds. "Your queer face? It's tanking streams. Come clean as a bromance, or kiss the tour goodbye." Julian's face was granite, but I saw the crack. The boy from Crescent Bay, terrified of losing the dream again. "Get out," he growled, but doubt lingered in his eyes as they left, tires spitting gravel. That afternoon, silence stretched taut as a bowstring. I found him on the deck, staring at the horizon, guitar untouched. "Elias," he started, voice hollow. "What if he's right? What if I drag you down with me?" The words eviscerated, reopening old fissures. "Is that what this is? A phase?" I demanded, voice rising with the wind. He recoiled as if slapped. "No, God, no. But the pressure. It's a vice." We argued then, words weapons. Me hurling accusations of cowardice, him defending with the armor of survival. "You think I don't bleed for this?" Every interview, I swallow the truth. Tears streamed, hot and unbidden, and in the fury, truths spilled. My fear of being the footnote again, his terror of a world that loved his voice but hated his heart. The fight crested like a rogue wave, leaving us wrecked. Me storming to the beach, him retreating to the cabin. Salt stung my eyes as I hurled pebbles at the surf. Rage and grief, a toxic brew. Hours later, as twilight bled the sky crimson, he found me, soaked and shivering, wrapping me in his jacket. "I'm sorry," he whispered, pulling me close, our sobs mingling with the tide's roar. "I can't lose you. Not to this." In the sand, under a canopy of stars emerging like hesitant allies, we vowed anew. Not just love, but fight. "We'll face it together," I said, his hand in mine a lifeline. "Your voice, my words, will tell our story our way." Dawn brought fragile peace, the cabin's kitchen a battlefield of reconciliation. Eggs scrambled with apologies, coffee laced with tentative plans. Julian's phone lay, silenced in a drawer, a temporary truce with the chaos beyond. "Let's go public," he proposed over breakfast, eyes alight with reckless fire. Not a statement, a song. Our song. My pulse quickened. The idea was audacious, a gauntlet thrown to the gods of fame. I'd pen the lyrics, draw from the ache of our years apart, the joy of reunion, raw, unfiltered, queer as the day is long. He nodded, strumming a melody on his guitar, notes weaving hope from hurt. It felt revolutionary, two lovers scripting their defiance. We holed up for days, the Pacific our sole witness. Words poured from me like confession. Verses of library kisses and beachfront vows, choruses decrying closets built of contracts and convention. Julian's music enveloped them, his voice layering vulnerability over power chords, a ballad that pulsed with the rhythm of our hearts. Starlight in the margins. We titled it, a nod to my annotations in his notebooks, the hidden love scripted in the white spaces. Recording was intimate alchemy. Him at the makeshift mic stand fashioned from a broom handle, me pacing with a notebook, our glances charged with creation's thrill. By the week's end, a rough demo hummed from his laptop, rough-hewn but resonant, a weapon forged in fire. But the world intruded, insidious as fog. A drone buzzed overhead one morning. Its were a harbinger. By noon, fan forums erupted with speculation. Mystery Man, morphing into doxing attempts that chilled my blood. Victor's emails piled up, threats veiled in legalese. Breach of contract, image rights, the tour's cancellation looming like guillotine. Julian's label, Apex Records, issued a terse statement. Personal matters. Artist focus remains on music. Subtext screamed, shut it down. Doubt crept back, a serpent in our Eden. Late nights, he'd pace the deck, phone in hand, temptation to cave etched in his furrowed brow. "What if it destroys us both?" he'd murmur, collapsing beside me on the sagging couch. I countered with stories, Baldwin's lovers defying McCarthy's shadow, Wolf's Orlando transcending eras, reminders that love's narrative outlasts Scandal's ink. Yet fear gnawed, my blog, once a whisper, now drowned in trolls, old wounds from Crescent Bay reopening like poorly healed scars. One evening, as rain lashed the windows, a package arrived. Anonymous, postmarked inside, printed screenshots of our beach kiss, circled in red, with a note, "Choose wisely, or he falls." My hand shook. Julian's face darkened to thunder. Stalkers, he spat, but vulnerability cracked through. This is what they do, twist love into leverage. We burned the photos in the fireplace, flames devouring the evidence, but the ash lingered, a reminder of shadows closing in. Desperate for air, we fled south, the Mustang devouring Highway 1 serpentine curves toward L.A. sprawl. The city greeted us with smog-choked sunsets and billboards bearing Julian's face, ironic sentinels to our quest. We crashed at a buddy's loft in Silver Lake, a queer haven of vinyl records and rooftop gardens, where allies like Marco, a tattooed sound engineer with a penchant for margaritas, offered sanctuary. Leak the track yourselves? Marco urged over tacos, his eyeliner smudged from a late gig. Bypass the suits. Go viral on your terms. Julian's eyes sparked. I nodded, adrenaline surging. That night, under fairy lights strung like captured stars, we uploaded the demo to a burner SoundCloud, teasing it on Julian's private Insta with a cryptic caption, "For the one who never let go." Echoes unsilenced. The explosion was biblical. By midnight, shares rocketed, fans dissecting lyrics for queer subtext, allies amplifying with hashtags #LoveWinsReyes, detractors spewing vitriol in comment threads that moderators couldn't stem. Streams hit 1 million by dawn, the algorithm's cruel mercy propelling us into trending territory. Victor called at 6 a.m., voice of venomous hiss. "You've tanked your career, kid." Boards pulling support. Julian, bleary-eyed but defiant, hit speaker. "Good. Find a puppet who sings for scraps. This is my truth." Click. Freedom tasted like terror, exhilarating and abyss deep. LA became our coliseum. Protests erupted outside Apex's towers, queer youth waving signs, Reyes for real love, while talk shows clamored for exclusives, pitting us as the scandal du jour. We hunkered in the loft, Marco's crew forming a buffer, stylists for armor-like outfits, lawyers vetting statements. But intimacy frayed under siege. Arguments flared over strategy, me advocating bold interviews, him craving retreat. "You're pushing too hard," he snapped one night after a dodged TMZ ambush. "This isn't a book. It's our lives." Hurt bloomed, sharp as betrayal. "And you're still hiding," I retorted, storming to the balcony, city lights mocking our fragility. Reconciliation came at Griffith Observatory, a midnight pilgrimage under the planetarium's dome. Stars wheeled above, indifferent witnesses, as he pulled me to the edge, city sprawl a glittering sea below. "I am scared, yes, of losing the music, of losing you to this madness." Tears carved tracks down his cheeks, moonlight silvering them. I cupped his face, thumbs brushing away salt. "Then let's be scared together. No more footnotes." Our kiss, there was sacrament, sealing vows against the void. Love not as escape, but confrontation. Back at the loft, we made love with deliberate tenderness, bodies a map of resilience, whispers weaving futures unbound. Yet Kitsch 10 escalated, a thriller's twist. 2 days later, as we prepped for an underground queer radio spot, the stalker struck. A brick through the loft window, shards raining like accusations, note attached, stars fall. Bookworms burn. Police swarmed, lights strobing the night. Marco's face ashen as he swept glass. Julian held me through the chaos, his whisper fierce. "They won't break us." But sleep evaded. Paranoia seeded nightmares. Flashes of Crescent Bay's slurs, amplified by Fame's megaphone. The next morning, forensics traced the brick to a disgruntled ex-fan, a zealot from the Bible Belt forums, but the damage lingered, a fracture in our foundation. In the eye of the hurricane, value emerged, humanity's quiet core. Marco's community rallied, potlucks in hidden parks, song circles where Julian mentored young artists hiding their truths. I read at a bookstore slam, my essay on loving the untouchable, drawing tears from strangers who saw their reflections. These moments grounded us. Love's romance not in grand gestures, but shared silences, hands clasped against the storm. Julian's eyes softened, seeing beyond the spotlight to the man who'd waited. "You're my anchor," he murmured one dawn, as we watched the sun gild the Hollywood hills. Hope flickered, tenacious as coastal wildflowers. But climax loomed, inevitable as high tide. Apex sued for breach, demanding royalties on the stolen demo, their lawyers circling like sharks. Victor testified in depositions, painting Julian as unstable, me as the predatory influence. Headline screamed, "Reyes downfall, love or lunacy?" Fans splintered, some abandoning ship, others doubling down, petitions flooding for a comeback tour. We fought back in court, Marco's tech wizardry uncovering emails proving the label's homophobic clauses, buried in fine print. The trial became spectacle, live-streamed snippets going viral, our testimonies raw poetry, Julian's voice steady, recounting closets and costs, mine quivering but unbowed, affirming love's unyielding light. Through it all, romance endured, stolen dates in dive bars, where he'd serenade me over cheap whiskey, or quiet mornings scripting lyrics on napkins. Tension built, gay can as a heartbeat, each ruling a cliffhanger. Allies poured in, queer icons tweeting support, Baldwin scholars citing our story as modern canon. Yet doubt whispered, would justice prevail, or crush us? The courtroom verdict dropped like a gavel's thunder on a sweltering August afternoon, the judge's voice cutting through the media scrum, dismissed. With prejudice. Cheers erupted from the gallery, our makeshift family of activists and artists, while Julian and I gripped hands under the table, knuckles white, tears blurring the oak benches. Apex's empire cracked, exposed for the bigots they were, their stock dipping as boycotts bit deep. Victor slunk out, tail between legs, but victory tasted bittersweet. Scars ran deeper than ink. We did it, Julian breathed, pulling me into a hug that defied flashing cameras. Our first public embrace, a declaration etched in eternity. Fame's backlash was swift, a serpent uncoiling. Boycotts from Heartland radio stations, sponsors fleeing like rats from a blaze, Julian's dreams halved overnight. Yet Phoenix-like, support surged from unexpected quarters. Indie labels courting him, festivals booking sets under rainbow banners, a documentary crew pitching echoes unsilenced, the Reyes redemption. We retreated to Crescent Bay for breathing room, the town transformed, pride flags fluttering from porches once hostile, locals nodding shy apologies at the grocery, where Julian restocked on his mama's tamales. His family, devout but devoted, enveloped us. His madres Abuelita hugs, padres gruff, Mijo be happy, a balm to old wounds. Reunion with roots, unearthed ghosts. Walking the pier where he'd first buskied, guitar in hand, Julian strummed our song, voice carrying over waves that once drowned our whispers. Remember, he asked, eyes distant. I did. The salt-stung kisses, the dreams we etched in sand. But maturity tempered nostalgia. We weren't boys anymore, but men forged in fire, love seasoned by survival. Evenings at a childhood home, we'd cook pozole, laughter mingling with tears as he came out fully, family photos reframed to include me. You're home now, his sister whispered, squeezing my hand, humanity's warmth thawing the chill of exile. Yet drama simmered, unresolved. The stalker, out on bail, escalated, taunting letters postmarked from Reno, photos of our cabin getaway slipped under doors. Police dismissed it as nuisance, but fear coiled tight. Julian's insomnia returned, nights spent pacing with a baseball bat, me soothing with readings from the house on Mango Street. Cisneros' prose a shield against shadows. Romance adapted, tender in adversity. Bubble baths scented with eucalyptus, his head on my chest as I wove tales of heroes who outran darkness. You're my plot twist, he joked, but his eyes held gratitude profound, our bond a narrative of endurance. Public life beckoned, a siren's call. Julian's first post-trial gig was a queer pride event in San Diego, the stage a reclaimed altar. Backstage, nerves jangled, mine from the crowd's roar, his from the weight of witness. For us, I murmured, adjusting his collar, our kiss a talisman. He took the mic, spotlights bathing him in gold, and launched into starlight in the margins, voice soaring, unbowed. The audience, a sea of flags and faces fierce with recognition, sang back, 1,000 strong, our story theirs. Me in the wings, tears streaming. This was love's alchemy, pain transmuted to power. Success snowballed, Kitsch Tin yielding to triumph. A major label, queer-led, out and proud, signed him their debut album, Unbound Echoes, our collaboration. My lyrics threading every track, themes of hidden loves and bold revelations. Recording sessions in a Venice Beach studio became idols. Sunlit afternoons with ocean views, breaks for surfing where he'd teach me to ride waves, laughter salting the spray. Critics raved. Reyes matures, raw and revolutionary. Rolling Stone proclaiming it the queer anthem of the decade. Charts climbed, tours booked coast to coast, but we set boundaries. No endless nights, always a hotel suite for two. My books unpacked first. Intimacy deepened in the quiet spaces. On a layover in Chicago, snow blanketing the loop like forgiveness, we wandered the Art Institute, Van Gogh's Starry Nights mirroring our path. See that? Julian pointed to Hopper's Nighthawks, the lonely diner glow. That's what hiding felt like. Now, we're the light. His hand in mine, public and proud, sparked joy electric. Back in our suite, overlooking frozen Lake Michigan, we made love slow and sacred, bodies conversing in the language of survivors, grateful, greedy, gone on each other. But conflict lingered, subtle as undertow. Fame's glare strained us. Delayed flights turning to misconnections, me shelving novels for set lists, resentment bubbling in stolen moments. One night in Austin, post-show adrenaline crashing, he snapped at my suggestion to skip an afterparty. You don't get it, networking's the game. Hurt flared. I retreated to the green room, journaling fury in margins. I'm not your shadow, I wrote, echoing Gatsby's ghost. He found me at dawn, contrite, flowers wilting in his fist. I forget, you're the star of my sky. Apology accepted in whispers and touches, but the lessons sank. Balance was our new ballad, harmony hard won. Humanity shone in the margins. In Nashville, he mentored a trans teen songwriter, her eyes wide as he shared our scars. I volunteered at a literacy program, reading to kids who saw queerness in my story's heroes. These acts wove value into our tapestry. Love not conquest, but contribution, ripples from our stone touching distant shores. Julian's growth thawed, from closeted crooner to advocate, testifying at congressional hearings on anti-LGBTQ bills, his voice a clarion for the silenced. As autumn leaves turn New England gold, we circle back to San Francisco, full loop. The shop, Pages Unbound, hosted our album release, shelves rearranged for a listening party, fans queuing around the block. Julian performed acoustically, dedicating the title track to the bookworm who taught me to read between the lines. Applause thundered, but his eyes sought mine, love spotlight unwavering. Later, in the back room, amid champagne toasts, he dropped to one knee, not with rings, but a vintage typewriter ribbon, spooled with a proposal etched in ink. Right hour forever, laughter, tears, yes, a vow unbound by contracts. Yet one final twist awaited, gay can as Greek tragedy. En route to a Grammy non-announcement, our flight hit turbulence, literal and figurative. Mid-air, Julian's phone lit with news. The stalker, radicalized further, had firebombed a queer center in Reno, manifesto naming us as corruptors. Rage and grief warred. Landing in LAX chaos, we raced to the hospital, visiting survivors, burned arms bandaged, spirits unbowed. Julian's interview that night shifted from triumph to testimony. Hate thrives in silence. Our love, it's the answer. Views exploded, humanity's chorus drowning venom. Winter wrapped the world in hush, but our story accelerated, a freight train of milestones and minefields. The Grammys loomed, unbound echoes, nominated for Album of the Year. A queer milestone, whispers of history in every rehearsal. Julian threw himself into prep, choreography sessions leaving him bruised and beaming, while I ghostwrote his acceptance speech, words laced with our journey's grit. Romance simmered domestic. Mornings in our Laurel Canyon cottage, him brewing espresso strong as his resolve, me annotating his sheet music with doodles of intertwined initials. Our nest, he called it, planting succulents in terracotta pots, a far cry from arena echoes. Tension brewed beneath bliss. The stalker's trial cast long shadows, court dates clashing with tour stops, testimonies dredging nightmares. Julian testified first, voice steady as he recounted the threats, the brick, the firebomb's blaze. It wasn't just me, he said, eyes locking on the jury. It's every kid hiding in Crescent Bay, every artist muzzled by fear. I watched from the gallery, pride swelling fierce, but afterward in the courthouse bathroom, he shattered, sobs racking his frame against cold tile. What if they acquit? What if it happens again? I held him, murmuring mantras from our songs. We rise. Justice prevailed, guilty, life sentence, but victory rang hollow, trauma's echo lingered, therapy sessions our new ritual, unpacking closets long demolished. Public scrutiny intensified, a microscope on our every move. Tabloids dissected our red carpet debut at the Grammys. Me in a tailored tweed suit, him in velvet rebellion, hands clasped defiantly. Power couple or publicity stunt? Headlines sneered, but fans flooded with love. Fan art of us as literary lovers, playlists curated with our tracks. The ceremony was spectacle, spotlights like divine judgment, celebrities air-kissing egos. Julian's category hit, the band striking up as nominees held breath. When his name rang out, confetti rained biblical, and he bounded on stage, pulling me up unscripted. This is for Elias, he declared, voice booming, the heart in every lyric, the courage in every chord. Kiss Cam caught us mid-embrace, broadcast to millions, a queer kiss sealing legend. Backstage, euphoria crashed, label execs clapping backs, but whispers of too bold soured the high. Post-win glow faded in a grind. The world tour kicked off in Tokyo, jet lag a thief stealing sleep, stages spanning continents. I traveled as creative consultant, my days scripting interludes, nights fighting loneliness in hotel lobbies while he charmed crowds. Distance bred doubt, late-night calls laced with static, his exhaustion mirroring mine. In Berlin, midway through a sold-out show, he faltered mid-chorus, voice cracking on our ballad. Fans thought it passion, but I knew. Burnout, the cost of bearing soul nightly. Post-curtain, he collapsed in my arms. I can't breathe under this. We canceled 2 dates, retreating to a black forest cabin, wood smoke, and silence our salve. There, stripped of amps and applause, we hiked mossy trails, his hand in mine a tether. Fame's a beast, he admitted, skipping stones across a brook. But you're my wild. Rekindled, we returned, him tempered, me his unyielding muse. Humanity wove through the whirlwind. In Cape Town, he headlined a HIV/AIDS benefit, donating proceeds, his set weaving activism into anthems. I partnered with local libraries, donating books to townships, faces lighting as pages opened worlds. These acts grounded us. Love's value not in trophies, but transformation. Ripples touching lives we'd never meet. Backstage, Crescent Bay threw a homecoming festival, the pier alive with lanterns and locals swaying to his acoustic set. His madre danced with me, tears in her eyes. You saved my boy. Pride swelled. This was redemption's arc, from hidden to heralded. Yet Kitch 10 peaked in spring, a stormfront no forecast warned. During a Madison Square Garden residency, an ex, a fleeting fling from his closeted days, a model named Riley with grudges sharper than stilettos, leaked voicemails, twisted intimacies painted as betrayal. Reyes played us all. The article blared, screenshots doctored to imply infidelity. Social media ignited. Reyes cheater trending, streams dipping, fans fracturing anew. Julian, mid-rehearsal, saw it on a crew phone, face draining to ash, bolting to our dressing room. It's lies, he choked, thrusting the tablet at me. But doubt's seed sprouted, old insecurities blooming toxic. Was it? I demanded, voice steel masking quake. Before us, after? The fight was cataclysmic, words shrapnel in the green room's confines. You think I'd throw us away? He roared, pacing like a caged panther. Riley's bitter, payback for leaving. Evidence piled, alibis from tour logs, Riley's history of smears against exes. But hurt festered. I stormed the city streets, Hudson River winds whipping accusations. Hours later, he found me on a bench near the High Line, rain sheeting down. Elias, please. Soaked, shattered, he knelt, rain mingling with tears. You're my only. Always. Proof surfaced, Riley's arrest for harassment, confession extracted, but trust fractured demanded mending. We therapy tripped through it, sessions dissecting jealousy's roots, emerging scarred but stronger, love's forge unyielding. Summer bloomed forgiveness. We honeymooned early in the Berkshires, no rings yet, but vows whispered in wildflower meadows. Days blurred in idle, kayaking sun-dappled lakes, evening stargazing with telescopes borrowed from a local observatory. There, under Perseid showers, he proposed properly, a ring simple as our start, silver band engraved with I carry your heart. Yes, ecstatic, sealed with a kiss tasting of eternity. Planning wove whimsy. A courthouse ceremony in San Francisco, followed by a reception at Pages Unbound, books as witnesses. Trial's end brought closure. Riley's plea deal, community service, gag order, drew lines, but Julian channeled pain into advocacy, founding a foundation for queer youth against online harassment. I penned a memoir excerpt for The Atlantic, Loving the Star, a bookworm's odyssey. Vulnerability met with acclaim, offers flooding for full book deals. Our lives intertwined deeper. Him guest lecturing in my old MFA program. Me co-producing his next EP, lyrics laced with marriage's promise. As leaves turned, we stood on the precipice of forever. Grammy after-parties faded to quiet dinners, arenas to intimate venues. Love matured. Less fireworks, more hearth fire, warmth sustaining through chills. One eve in our canyon home, fire crackling, he strummed a new tune, vows in verse, ode to the man who'd waited. You were the star, I teased, curling into him. I was just a bookworm. He smiled, I soft. No, together, with a whole damn sky. Autumn's palette painted California gold, our wedding a tapestry of intimate threads. October 14th, 2025. The date circled in red on calendars worn from tours. Dawn crisp, eucalyptus scent riding coastal breezes into San Francisco. The courthouse, a neoclassical sentinel overlooking the bay, hosted our vows. Just us, Marco as witness, a justice of the peace with a rainbow pin. Julian in linen suit the shade of sea glass, me in tweed vest echoing our first red carpet. Nerves jangling like loose change, but his hand in mine, steady as sonnets. Elias Thorne, he recited, voice husky with held tears. You bound my chaos into chapters. I vow to be your endless story. Mine trembled. Julian Reyes, you lit my margins. I vow to love you, spotlight or shadow. Rings exchanged, simple bands, inner engravings mirroring hearts, sealed with a kiss that tasted of homecoming. Cheers from passers by a chorus unscripted. Reception at Pages Unbound, unfolded like a literary fever dream. Shelves parted for a dance floor of Persian rugs, string lights twinkling like fireflies in bindings. Guests, queer kin from stages and stacks, mingled. Julian's bandmates toasting with craft IPAs, my MFA cohort reciting bawdy limericks from dog-eared tomes. Marco DJ'd a playlist of our lives. Tom waits for grit, Chapel Roan for glitter, while his madre served tamales wrapped in love. We cut a cake tiered like a novel's chapters, vanilla with lemon curd, fed bites amid laughter. First dance to our ballad, His Arms My Harbor, whispers weaving futures. Adoptions maybe, a cabin in Big Sur for writing retreats. Joy effervesced, untainted. Humanity's gift, love celebrated not despite scars, but through them. Honeymoon whisked us to the Amalfi Coast, a whim born of Julian's, let's chase sunsets, not deadlines. Positano's cliffs tumbled to azure seas, villas whitewashed as dreams. Days dissolved in leisure. Cliffside hikes to hidden coves, swims where Mediterranean waters lapped lover secrets. Evenings on terraces, Limoncello, glowing amber, his guitar, summoning stars. Romance reignited primal. Nights tangled in linen sheets, bodies conversant in dialects of delight, mornings waking to his sketches of me, asleep and adored. My muse, he'd murmur, charcoal-smudged fingers tracing my spine. We wandered ruins, Pompeii's ashes a metaphor for rebirth, toasting to ashes left behind. Return thrust us into velocity. Julian's album soared platinum certified, spawning a documentary, Unbound. The Reyes Thorne story, filmed in verite bursts. Tour buses, therapy couches, our canyon kitchen. Editing sessions became ours, me vetoing sensational cuts, insisting on nuance. Love's mess, not myth. Premiere at Sundance drew tears and standing ovations. Critics hailing it queer cinema's tender triumph. But fame's double-edged cut. Privacy eroded, drones buzzing our fence, fans mailing propositions that curdled stomachs. We fortified, gated drives, NDAs for staff, but intrusion rankled, a reminder. Stardom's price, vigilance eternal. Kitsch tins stirred in winter's grip. A biopic offer landed. Heavyweight studio, A-lister attached to play Julian, script whitewashing our queerness into deep friendship. Outrage boiled. We declined publicly, op-ed in Variety decrying erasure. Our love isn't subplot, it's the spine. Backlash boomeranged. Trolls dredging Riley's lies, conservative outlets branding us woke warriors. Streams dipped briefly, but allies amplified. GLAAD Awards, TED Talk invites. Julian channeled ire into a concept album. Margins of Fury, my co-write a catharsis. Tracks raging against sanitization, romancing resilience. Personal storms brewed subtler. Therapy unearthed my imposter syndrome. Bookworm adrift in glitter, fearing I'd dim his shine. You're the gravity, he countered in sessions, but doubt lingered, manifesting in withdrawn silences. One night in February, post-GLAAD gala, champagne fizzing false effervescence, it erupted. Do you regret this? I blurted, pacing our living room, awards glinting, accusatory. Me, holding you back from the normal life? He recoiled, hurt flashing. Normal? That's the cage I fled. Elias, you're my choice, every damn time. Argument dissolved in raw honesty. My fears of abandonment, his guilt over spotlights blinding me. Dawn brought mending. Vows renewed over sunrise yoga, bodies and souls realigned. Spring heralded growth. We adopted a rescue mutt, Luna, scruffy terrier with eyes like Julian's, her wagging tail a daily lesson in uncomplicated joy. Family expanded. His sister birthed a niece, chubby-cheeked Sophia, whom we spoiled with board books and lullabies. Crescent Bay visits became ritual, peer barbecues, his padre teaching Luna fetch, madre stories of Julian's boyhood mischief. Roots deepened, love's tree branching wide. Professionally, synergy bloomed. My memoir, Starlight in the Stacks, hit shelves to acclaim. New York Times bestseller, book tours syncing with his festival circuit. Readings drew crowds. Me reciting our library kiss, him surprising venues with acoustic encores. A joint project crystallized. A graphic novel, his music inspiring my script, illustrated by a non-binary artist from Marco's Circle. Panels of us as mythic lovers, bookish oracle and wandering bard. Mirrored life, sales funding scholarships for queer writers. Yet climax crested in summer heat. A political maelstrom engulfed us. National bill targeting LGBTQ education. Sponsors pulling from Julian's tour in solidarity with bigots. Headlines screamed, Reyes boycotts Heartland. Fans picketing venues. Rage fueled action. He canceled Southern dates, redirecting funds to advocacy, me penning fiery essays for The Guardian. Threats resurfaced. Vague emails, slashed tires at a venue. But security tightened, love's armor unbreached. Culmination, a rally in D.C., Julian headlining with allies, his speech a thunderclap. Love isn't partisan, it's human. Deny it, and you deny us all. Crowds roar, a million voices drowned opposition. Bill stalled, our stand etched in history. Through it, romance endured. Picnics in Griffith Park, where he'd compose on uke while I napped on his lap. Quiet anniversaries with takeout, and The Great Gatsby reread aloud. Value crystallized. Love as activism, vulnerability as strength. Our story a beacon for the hidden. As leaves fell anew, we paused, sabbatical in Big Sur cabin, waves our metronome. There, under redwoods ancient as epics, Julian strummed a lullaby for the family we'd build. Ready for more chapters? He asked, eyes twinkling. I smiled, heart full. With you? Always. The sabbatical stretched into autumn's embrace, Big Sur's wild heart our reset. Cabin life was poetry unpunctuated. Mornings foraging blackberries for pancakes, afternoons hiking trails where ferns whispered secrets, evenings by driftwood fires, Julian's guitar harmonizing with alcohols. Luna romped beaches, chasing gulls, her joy infectious, a reminder that healing needn't roar. We journaled jointly, pages filling with gratitudes, his for my patience, mine for his fire. Therapy continued virtual, unpacking fame's fallout, his performative smiles masking exhaustion, my quiet envies of his ease in crowds. We're learning, he'd say, lacing fingers, love's longest lesson, grace. Re-entry to the world was gradual, textured. Julian's next project, a folk opera on queer icons, my libretto weaving wolf, Baldwin, milk into tapestry. Rehearsals in a Hollywood barn, raw and communal, reignited his spark, voice soaring through arias of defiance. I directed interludes, staging intimate vignettes that blurred life and art. Premiere at LA's Geffen Playhouse drew luminaries, standing ovation sealing its run. Reviews lauded a requiem for the silenced, sung by survivors. Royalties seeded our foundation, scholarships blooming for young queer artists. Letters of thanks, scribbled in crayon, treasures on our fridge. Domesticity deepened roots. We fostered a second rescue, Milo, a shy spaniel mix, his trust won slow, as ours once was. The canyon home evolved. Library nook with my desk overlooking canyons, his studio soundproof for midnight musings. Holidays blended traditions. Thanksgiving pozole with my family's apple pie, Hanukkah lights mingling with posada piñatas. Sophia, toddled visits, her giggles elixir. Julian's Uncle Elias' stories entranced her, planting seeds of worlds beyond binaries. Challenges arose, inevitable as tides. A health scare, Julian's voice nodules from overstrain, surgery looming, tested metal. Waiting room vigil, my hand in his, we traded fears. What if I can't sing? Then write. Or hum. You're more than melody. Procedure succeeded, rehab, a duet of patience, vocal exercises in tandem, me reading audiobooks during rests. Recovery forged intimacy anew. Whispered affections in dim rooms, his gratitude palpable in every healed note. Return to stage? Tentative, triumphant. A benefit concert where his first aria, flawless, drew tears from wings to rafters. Humanity's thread pulled us outward. In spring 2026, we toured schools, queer-inclusive lit programs, Julian jamming with students, me facilitating writing workshops. Faces lit. A trans kid in Tulsa clutching my book, You Made Me Brave, a non-binary teen in Austin freestyling lyrics to his tracks. These encounters, fleeting flames, warmed against cynicism. Proof our story rippled, inspiring echoes. Romance matured to marrow. Anniversaries marked not extravagance, but essence. Paper for first, me gifting a sheaf of unpublished poems. Wood for second, him carving our initials into a redwood slab. Dates diversified. Queer book club potlucks, stargazing at observatories, him surprising me with tickets to a literary festival where I keynote beside him. Intimacy evolved. Less frenzy, more savor. Lazy Sundays, tracing tattoos he'd inked post-wedding, symbols of our saga. Yet one final arc bent toward meaning. As our 5th year dawned, whispers of family grew insistent. Surrogacy consultations, profiles sifted, hope laced with heartache, each know a bruise. Then, miracle, a match, a carrier named Lena, journey shared in vulnerability. Pregnancy's progression wove wonder. Ultrasounds revealing tiny kicks, nursery painted in neutrals with bookshelves for walls. Julian's songs softened, paternal anthems emerging. My essays turned to fatherhood's fears and joys. Birth came storm-swept, July gale rattling LA windows. Hospital wait, Julian pacing, me breathing through contractions relayed via video from Lena's room. Then, cry piercing, a daughter, Aria Reyes-Thorne, 6 pounds of fury and fragility. In her arms, Julian wept, she's our verse. Me, holding her first, tiny fist clutching my finger. Completion, love's ultimate chapter. Parenthood reshaped us. Sleepless symphonies, diapers dictating dates, but joy exponential. Arias firsts. Coos echoing his melodies, gurgles to my rhymes. We balanced. Nannies for tours, but always home by bedtime stories. The Star and the Bookworm. Our fairy tale spun anew. Years folded forward. Aria toddled stage's edges. Julian's mini-muse. By 10, she penned lyrics, me editing her tales. Foundation thrived. Centers built in Crescent Bay. Scholarships naming Thorne Reyes grants. Fame faded to legacy. Julian's memoirs, my novels, joint philanthropy, etching impact. Reflection came at 50, on that Crescent Bay pier, Aria grown, launching her own album. Waves lapped memories, Julian's hand, weathered but warm, in mine. We made it, he murmured, eyes crinkling. I smiled, heart brimming. Beyond the stars. In the end, love wasn't the spotlight or the shelf. It was the light between, enduring, illuminating. You were the star everyone loved. I, the bookworm who never stopped. Together, we were the story that outlasted them all. Kitsch Tin, Langman, profoundly human.